last years of the reign of King Aegon IV, his eldest trueborn son, Prince Daeron, proved the chief and most impassable obstacle to Aegon's constant and consistent misrule and abuse of his power. In a way, the prince was the only balance and check to his father's unpredictable will and dangerous decrees. Some lords of the realm clearly saw an opportunity in the increasingly corpulent, gluttonous king, who could be convinced to part with honours, offices and lands with the promise of pleasure. Men would send their daughters to court with this specific task in mind. Some got the rewards they sought, others failed in their task, while some went on to regret ever getting involved with Aegon altogether. Other lords, the few who were willing to publicly condemn the king's behaviour, began to flock to Prince Daeron despite all his threats and tasteless japes. The king never disowned his son. In fact, there's not any solid proof that he ever made a true attempt to do so, despite his public detraction of him and claims that his father was really his late brother Aemon. Accounts differ as to why. There are some that suggest a shriveled, dark part of Aegon deep inside still knew honour, if not that, at the very least, shame. There may still be some of the promising boy that had been born to Viserys and Lara of Lys. If so, he never showed his true self, or any semblance of care, not in public, and reportedly not even in private. The likeliest cause as to why Aegon never acted, however, was that he knew that such an act would bring war to the realm once again, and war was not something King Aegon wished to deal with. War would be a distraction from what he truly loved, eating, drinking, and women. But in truth, there were more dangerous factors that Aegon had to consider. Daeron had allies, chief amongst them the Prince of Dorne, whose sister Myeria Martell Daeron had wed in the wake of his namesake, King Daeron I's ill-fated attempt to invade Dorne in 170. The pair would have their first child, a son named Baelor, soon after. This meant the House Martell would soon have their own blood on the Iron Throne, and would defend Daeron and his rights should Aegon try and remove him from the succession. Perhaps it was for this reason that Aegon turned his attention to Dorne, using the hatred for the Dornish that still burned in the Marches, the Stormlands and the Reach, to reluctantly force some of Daeron's allies into action and use them against his most powerful supporters, the Dornish. Fortunately for the realm, the king's plans to invade Dorne in 174 AC proved a complete failure in every sense of the word. Though his grace, at great cost to the realm, had built a huge fleet, the biggest since before the Dance of the Dragons, thinking to succeed as Daeron the Young Dragon had done, by means of attacking through the Red Mountains and by sea. But this fleet was broken and scattered by storms on its way to Dorne, and hundreds of men and ships sunk to the bottom of the narrow sea. Some say if Aegon had been more patient and had waited for the right time of year, when the weather around Shipbreaker Bay and the Stepstones was more favourable, then much of the fleet could have made it to the Dornish coast. But if there is one thing Aegon was not known to be, and that was a patient man. But his folly at sea and the sinking of his fleet was far from the greatest folly of Aegon IV's stillborn invasion of Dorne. Just as he had pumped enormous amounts of gold into the fleet, he did so with other projects, ones even his greatest supporters found foolish. For his grace had also turned to the dubious and infamous pyromancers of the ancient guild of alchemists. House Targaryen was never the same after the loss of their dragons in the wake of the dance, and many kings would try different methods to bring them back or replace that lost power. Aegon commanded the alchemists to build more dragons. Unlike the numerous attempts by his forebears and predecessors to hatch the last remaining dragon eggs on Dragonstone, Aegon would try a new approach. He would build dragons. These wood and iron monstrosities, carved into the shape of dragons, were fitted with pumps that shot jets of wildfire. They might have perhaps been some use in a siege, being able to burn down the strongest castle gate and fire over the walls into the castle interior. But Aegon proposed to drag these devices up through the Boneway, which is hard enough navigating on horseback and on foot, where there are places so steep that the Dornish have carved steps. But they did not even come that far, for the first of these dragons went up in flames in the Kingswood, far from the Boneway. Given the nature and power of wildfire, soon all 7 were burning. Hundreds of men burned in those fires, along with almost a quarter of the Kingswood. After that, King Aegon gave up his ambition and never spoke of Dorne again. Perhaps because he could not be bothered to take the time to prepare a new plan, or maybe he finally listened to reason. Whatever the truth of the matter, peace between Dorne and the Iron Throne was maintained. Barely. If it had not been for the marriage of Daeron to Mariah, very little might have stopped King Aegon the Unworthy